Here we're live. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Light a Joint with Ida. I am Ida Pearl Lee. And today I have Josey Scoggin with me.
Yay!
How are you doing?
I'm so excited. I'm so thankful to be with you, to be here.
Oh, I'm so thankful that you are here.
I did not wait to light a joint, but I'm happy to be on the show. I'm so excited to see you, women podcasters.
Thank you. Thank you. I just, I want to give women a platform to where they can shine. And we are such a, intricate part of this community that it's kind of like, the nurses to the doctors, it's like,
Yes.
We have a role, and it's like, I want to capitalize on that and give everyone a woman, a chance to shine. If I can not talk over my words here. Oh, goodness. So, how long have we known each other, Josey?
Gosh,
I think we met back lobbying, right?
So when you brought in Bella, which was a powerful moment for all of us, I was still a minor patient. And I think I'd been introduced to you directly through Robin.
Okay.
And first of all, there are very few minor patients in the state of Michigan as it is.
Mm-hmm.
But even fewer that have the courage, like I did it, to go in front of, it's so much more than legislators, right? In front of the media, in front of the cops, right? Because who is the main person testifying at all these hearings that we were at other than the Michigan State Police, right?
Mm-hmm.
And say, I want to give my child cannabis, right? And I'd Schedule 1 narcotic.
Right.
And so it's easy for me. I also have been raised in the cannabis community. I entered the cannabis community when I was 14. So a lot of our friends, we were all the same friends, right? So
right.
Have Robin taught me how, she took me shopping for my first power suit. She taught me how to wash pantyhose.
Okay.
Sharmy was there when I birthed my first baby.
I miss Sharmy.
I'm so blessed to be in the space that I am, surrounded by so many women that not only believe in the community and in Michigan as a whole, but are building a sisterhood in the beginning. So
I love that.
I'm excited.
Yeah, we do have a sisterhood.
But I don't know how exactly or when. I couldn't picture a date.
Yeah, I mean, goodness, it's been at least 8 years ago.
Gosh.
I mean, yeah. 8 years.
I was doing the math for when the bill passed, right? So, in 2008 we passed medical marijuana, but 2009 we all finally got our we applied for our med cards. I don't know that anyone got them in 2009. Right? But that was 12 years ago, 13 years ago since I've had my card now, and that's half my life that I've been a medical marijuana patient.
Why did you? So you said you entered into cannabis at 14. What led you to needing to get into cannabis, or why?
So my mom's a medical marijuana user, although in the 90s she was just a straight criminal. She was diagnosed with a terminal illness. She's been reporting using cannabis since the early 90s. And she had been told her whole life like she couldn't have kids, and by 30 she would be a vegetable, and by 40 she would be dead. And she was originally diagnosed with progressive pseudo-rheumatoid spondyloepiphyseal dysplasia, which is
that's a
mouthful, right? And it affects approximately 2,500 people across the U.S. And so it's fairly rare.
So what all does that mean? Because it is a mouthful.
So it's a fusion of the joints for the most part. It's false arthritis, and it attacks the body differently and from the inside out. So in 2002, there was a genome study that came to Johns Hopkins University. We were one of the first 100 families to use that. And what they did was they did a whole study on 250 other people with the same ailment, and of those, my mother and I were the only ones to not test positive for the gene mutation.
Oh my goodness.
So it turned out that this disease that my mom had been told that she had her whole life and had just miraculously been surviving through wasn't her assumed ailment But also we didn't have anyone else to connect to, right? So
Okay.
so at this time, in the United States, it's me, my mother, my daughter, and then there's another child out in I don't know, somewhere in Europe, and that's it, right?
Oh
so
my goodness.
um
Talk
my
about a really small community.
and maybe just a very long-term misdiagnosis, right? Without the
Right.
ability for us to get a whole study of our complete DNA, we would have never found this gene mutation
Okay.
and would have continued with a wrong diagnosis. But the mother was my geneticist, Dr. Pauly, and wrote several papers about us in the American Journal for Genetic Medicine.
Okay.
He carried around our briefcase to all of the conventions that he went to. So very much like the medical marijuana is a community, so is a lot of these doctor communities, and so that's how he linked with somebody who had the same gene mutation as us.
Okay.
So it's not that there's only just us, but just us that know, right?
Right.
But anyways, Dr. Pauly had been writing all these articles about my mother consuming cannabis for her chronic pain and the way that it had affected her ability to parent, specifically, and her ability to do things in daily livings and to participate in life in a way that her peers had not.
Okay. So it was showing a quality of life that she was actually able to embrace and survive on and thrive in.
And she was proud of, right?
Yes,
so she told everybody that she met with that she was using marijuana.
Okay.
And at the time, there was no such thing as medical marijuana, right? So in 1991, if you are 18 years old and you're saying I smoke weed and it makes me feel better, the doctor says, yeah, I bet it does. You know, like they never like tell me more. But I will say that our doctor believing in my mother, right, in what she was saying, was the beginning for us in understanding why medical marijuana. And I think I'm very blessed to have been born to a disabled mom who understood what my ailments are, and we're always toying this thing, which is not wanting to be treated different, but understanding that we are different. Right. And so she, when
are you gonna share that?
I'm not.
Come on.
You're like, I know, right? I'm sorry.
I mean, I don't have mine rolled yet.
when medical marijuana became a thing, my doctor, Dr. Pauly, asked me if I wanted to start using marijuana. And I was mad because like they told me they just like urine tested me for like all the allergens, and they told me they were not going to drug test me, and I was like, what are you doing, Dr. Pauly? You know, like, what's up here?
Drug testing.
How ironic. What an ironic question that you'd be asking me here. And it turned out that he was like, Josey, we are going to pass this medical marijuana act. I need to know if you are interested, if this is something that you want to do, because I don't know how to do it. I'm just a geneticist, you know?
Right.
And so he and my rheumatologist had called every day. They didn't really understand, you know, because it went into effect in December of 2009, but you couldn't get the forms or anything until April. So they called every day. They were like, we're ready for this. This is unfair.
Right.
This is, you know, and 2009 was a different time. It was before Sanjay Gupta had showed people giving marijuana to their children. It's before Charlotte's Web. It was very controversial, and cannabis has really always been reserved for children who were terminally ill or had seizures or something, not for chronic pain patients, and not for 14-year-old girls with leggings and a snapback, you know, like it doesn't work that way.
Right.
And so my mom really was lucky to have laid the foundation for me to enter medical marijuana.
That is really cool. I mean, it's unfortunate that she had to kind of like be the pioneer for you, but at the same time, you know, she was able to pave that way,
right,
and to provide you with a quality of life too.
Yeah, I used to get fentanyl suckers like prescribed to me just to go in an MRI machine in 7th grade.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, they don't do that anymore. And that's another thing to discuss is the way that the opiate crisis has affected people with real, true disabilities, and either gets them addicted to opioids and they're using cannabis to get off of that, or they can't get opioids because of this history of other people abusing, you know. And so it is difficult to enter spaces like this. And I know we've really done a shift from from patient to consumer.
Right.
When all my friends talk about their dispensaries and they talk about the customer, it's so funny to me because it was like 4 years ago, it was the patient,
Right.
oh yeah.
Yeah. Now that it's rec.
Right.
Well, and it's really sad because I feel like, and like we were just talking, the medical community is starting to dwindle down, and it's to understand we still need the medical side, and there are certain products that are made for medical.
So that's 100% true. So that's the greatest point is when my mom became my caregiver in 2009, she had never grown a plant in her life, right? So she smoked hella weed, but she wasn't a criminal.
Right.
And so she grew such shitty weed, Ida. I mean, like the world.
Well, you do
I bet she's watching right now and she's mad, but like it's not fair. I have.
Well,
it was mints all day. It was like
gardening. I mean, it's a skill.
It was terrible.
And
like
not everyone has that skill.
Up until that point, we had been smoking marijuana that had been smuggled in gas cans, and we had no idea.
Shit.
Like brickweed.
Right.
In 2009, we didn't know what weed looked like. We were going out to California.
So this is how desperate.
The state forced us to grow marijuana.
Yes.
There was no one in our area. We're from Southwest Michigan. Represent. And no one in the area was really opening dispensaries, and when they came up, they were always $400 an ounce and things that we couldn't really afford.
Right.
But remember that my mom was petrified, right? She had been keeping the secret for so long, for decades. She'd seen her friends and the people that helped her get medications raided and prosecuted for nothing.
Right.
And that's something that people in other states see today, right now.
Right.
And so she was...
Well, and that's part of the fear of growing, too. Even if you can grow, you can be raided and your entire livelihood destroyed.
Even today, right? There's still people
today.
that are getting raided today.
Yeah, which
is a misconception.
Insane.
Yes.
Yeah.
And there will never be a reason to be raided for marijuana, in my opinion, right?
No.
So,
I don't think there's a reason to be raided for anything other than, if you're gonna have guns and be a gang. I don't know. I don't want to get onto that topic. It's a whole nother. But sorry to interrupt you.
No. We didn't know how to grow marijuana, right? So we traveled the whole state. We went to every compassion club between here and Manistee, all the way down to Ann Arbor. I mean, we traveled hours and hours to find assistance. But what was true and consistent was people wanted to help us, right? In 2009 was a weird time because we all also thought weed was legal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we did.
Like real legal. Like we thought we could smoke weed on the front yard. We thought we could pull up to the like that South Park episode, like pull up there and
everyone's outside. Come on.
Yeah. We thought we could pull up to the police station and be like, "What's up?" The weed in the front of your car, and it wasn't until I don't know, like 6 or 8 months in that people started getting raided and arrested. And I mean, given some of them were like selling weed on Craigslist or something.
Are you serious?
Oh yeah, like whole dispensaries on Craigslist. It was a time where we were battling access, right? The access was it was out there, but it was an unsafe variety. You never knew who was luring people in.
Right.
And I think that when we met, it was at the tail end of these clean the air or clean the smoke or something campaigns that Shooty had done in all these little municipalities, in big municipalities as well, where he had taught people, specifically law enforcement, how to go around the Medical Marijuana Act. And it was putting people that provided us with medication, obviously, in direct danger.
Right.
They were arrested. They were raided. Nobody told us, for example, we couldn't have marijuana and our grandfather's gun that's locked in the shed 3 miles away, right? Nobody was informing us about these issues, but they sure were telling the prosecutors how to prosecute.
Exactly. Yeah.
And the thing is, so those people, the prosecutors that learned that back in 2009, and the police officers and the law enforcement are still probably working in law enforcement. They're still they just probably have more prestigious titles.
Mhm.
They probably make more decisions.
Right.
And so that is real training that it will affect us forever, generationally. And so when we entered the industry and we entered medical marijuana specifically, it was kind of it was a wild game. There was a lot of just shit we had never seen before. And I think that that's true with all of us.
Right.
You know, the evolution of the product, that's the best thing about legalization, is new and more innovative products, the ability to invest in research and product development.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. There's a lot of innovative thinking out there as far as like how to infuse THC in different products and different modalities. I've even heard of like nebulizers.
Right, that sounds awesome. Okay.
I mean, if there's a way for it to get into our lungs and to help with breathing, I mean, it's just it's crazy to me just the different ways that it can be used.
Right.
Yeah.
And before we had the ability, like retail shops, and the ability to maybe before we had a competitive caregiver market, even we didn't see things like cartridges. Right, cartridges are probably a top selling product. That's something that is new to the market.
Right.
That is something that provides a vape pen for me at 14 would have been incredible, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I know there's always like this thing about smoking marijuana with children, but the truth is that eating cannabis for the longest time has taken a long time to get any effects of. And when you need immediate relief, the only option is to smoke it.
Yeah.
And I do know there's fast acting edibles out now, right? But again, that is new technology that there is a market for, so people get to continue to grow.
Right.
But it circles back to there isn't products available for those that there isn't a market for. So people like Bella or like maybe some other minor patients that need high CBD and and they're not. I
know they're not being made because there's no money in it.
They are not being made because they're
sad.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Which is ironic. It's sad, but it's ironic because remember, medical marijuana is because of the patients.
It is.
Right?
It is.
And the reason that we got to even get here, and I know it's a stepping stone, but what we've been talking about for the better of a decade is the patients and disabled folks, right? Mm-hmm. And so it's ironic more than it is sad for me.
It is ironic, and for me, when I say sad, it's devastating.
It is
because those patients are the ones who are ultimately suffering. Again, because those products aren't being made, because the market is a wreck market, because there's not enough education going on and teaching. Even when you use it rec, it's still a medicine.
Yes.
And that's the thing that just it kills me. I was at a town hall meeting the other day, and just they had a bunch of kids get up and talk not in favor of cannabis. And it's just like, wait a second, like to use children that way to sway
this is something that happened? That's exploitation. Like, I do want to talk. God.
And it floored me that like this was even acceptable and that this was okay.
Was it accepted? People weren't like appalled?
I was appalled, and it's
oh my god!
And it's like, wait a second, like you're actually bringing children into an adult arena, which we are the adults. We have to
do that. Though.
We have to set the rules. We did.
We do that. So here's what's ironic. I guess is we do this, right? So we do this exact thing. There is zero chance that you would have made the same impact if you went into that legislature as Ida without Bella.
Oh, absolutely.
She had to be there.
She had to be there.
She could.
Yeah.
No, it was it was for the better of literally 250,000 fucking people in Michigan. I'm sorry, I don't know if I'm allowed to swear on here, but 250,000, 250,000 people. That's a decision to make.
Yeah.
But it was the same thing, right? I went out there at 14. I was trained by ASA about how to speak about safe access. I had the ability. I'm very visibly and obviously disabled, so I had the ability to do that. But it was still the same thing. It was still exploitation of children, right?
Yeah.
No, the question is, where does that line? It was okay because we were still investing in those communities, right? And I think that this is maybe not true for you, but it was true for me that these people really did care about if I had my medicine or not. Right? So they put me out there, but they really genuinely cared about it.
Mm-hmm.
They thought that I needed to have it, that I deserved to have it, that it was a fundamental right. They believe that about Bella.
Right.
That's the difference, right?
Yeah.
They created products to invest in that.
Exactly.
It's the new market that doesn't have any idea who Charlotte Fig is, who Bella is,
right.
who Danny Trevino is. Like these real, true stepping stones.
Yeah.
That made it so that people who participate in other industries highly get to participate in this industry as well.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
But it does translate into it's ironic. It's just hilarious. I know, sorry.
Our new word for the day.
Wait a minute. So
before I get going, I am smoking 100 monkey. This is what I'm going to roll today. From Lake Effect. Jevin, I hope you're watching. Roll a joint with me, dude. What are you passionate about?
Michigan, my love for Michigan, cannabis, terpenes, and more recently Mario Kart. I'm super freaking good at it.
What's Mario Kart?
Oh my god. So I went to this place. It's called the Rec Center. It's not open anymore, but shout out to Anna Germain. And it was this one of the first social lounges when it was weird and gray.
Okay.
And you pay like $20 to play Mario Kart for 2 hours, but you get a free 8. So I got really good at it.
Wow.
Actually. Yeah, so super good. But I took it. My family's from Ontonagon, so way up in the UP.
Okay.
So I am such a Michigander at heart. I will never convince me that there's a better state. I mean, we have waterfalls, we have mountains, we have the best weed. Holla. West side, best side. We have sunsets, and people will travel all over the U.S. to find a view like you can see at Lake Michigan, right?
This is true. You are right about that.
So I truly believe that we have the most accessible cannabis industry in the United States.
Okay.
And I am so proud of what we've built. I'm so proud of the industry that we're in. Right? I'm proud of the community. I know that there's a difference in the community and the industry.
Right.
But they're both such a solid foundation of real and true friendships. But also, I think that when we were in the space that we were in, let's be realistic about legalizing marijuana in 2018 and not 2012, like Colorado. Colorado had to give up a lot of freedoms for us to be able to rock it out like we did.
What do you mean? What do they have to give up?
There's so many they can have such a low possession limit. The ability to enter the market is really difficult. Okay. They have all of these regulations that they had to have because they were the first ones.
Right? I understand what you're saying. Okay. Yeah.
But we did it.
Right.
Detroit does it best. And
we
can possess anything that we grow, right? 10 ounces. People thought this was crazy. What was it that Tim Beck called it? A hippie's pipe dream. I will never. Sometimes, there's two things that play in my head all the time: the goddamn Stanley Steamer commercial and Tim Beck saying hippie's pipe dream all the time. I was trying to do.
Little support, little love. Hippie's pipe dream. That's insane.
But also the community that I'm from has been. It's not hard to identify with disenfranchised groups when you consistently see things like that. And so I got involved in politics, and probably the emergency management bill that went through that was to remove emergency managers. If you don't know, a lot of these small, ironically, primarily Black communities have emergency managers that are appointed by the state that decide the final say on a lot of the budget stuff.
Okay.
And they're not elected by the people.
Oh.
And so they did an initiative to remove this, and the initiative passed. And then Shooty, because he's the best, and Snyder combined together to create a bill that just reinstated city managers, but called it something different.
Okay.
And so it was my first example of people putting real work into something, right? I had seen people petitioning. I'd seen people sign the petition. I wasn't old enough to vote yet. They passed the bill. They voted for it, and then the government was like, actually, I feel like you don't know what you're talking about. And it was my first thing where I was like, hey, wait a minute. This isn't fair, right?
Right.
And so at school, they were like, contact your legislators. That's how you contact your city council.
Right.
So I was like, I will, you know? And it turns out that the city council of Benton Harbor votes, you know, these are like, it was like everybody on the council is somebody's aunt or cousin, or, you know, the real people. Yeah. And I was able to make a relationship with them, and I found that it didn't matter what my city council said, right? Because we have a city manager of the city. I don't even know what they're called now that Snyder did this thing.
Yeah. I know everything keeps changing so much, it's hard to keep up with all the different terms.
So, I don't know, I think I met Robin at one of these caregiver seminars. She was like giving weed to anyone that looked disabled or crippled or something like that. Robin is a badass. I don't care what the fuck.
You
so
know,
we're here.
How about somebody who doesn't get enough credit?
Let me paint you a goddamn picture. Here I am on Michigan Avenue. I've never been to something like this. To my right, I look down the road and there's the Capitol building of the state of Michigan. Beautiful, glorious, and everything that it is. I look to the left and there's Robin Schneider giving me an ounce of weed because I don't know why. She's just crazy, you know. She had a store. It was incredible. I had never met a more badass bitch in my life, and I was like, I want to be her when I grow up, right? Yeah. And then Robin started doing political stuff. It was incredible just to see things get done in real life and very results oriented, right? So, but it was really entering the medical marijuana system at 14, going to these places, people being like, hey, we need safe access. You should tell people, yeah, you need safe access, or you're gonna have to smoke your mom's shitty weed forever. Sorry, and I'm so proud to come into the industry and to be raised by such great women and to really be taught to create my own spot, right? Yeah. So that's what I did.
Which is important because it not only is it hard for us to hold space for others, but we have to hold space for ourselves.
Right. Oh yeah. And so people invested in me, and now I'm able to invest in other people in a way that is glorious. I mean, we've been doing some really cool shit.
So I want to know about sons and daughters because.
Okay. I want to talk about sons and daughters all day. Jeez, I'm so excited.
How did you get this idea? And what is it?
So, you know, I launched Sons and Daughters United with Robin and Josh Coger.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah, so fun fact.
Okay.
When we launched it, this decision had just came out, and it had said that oils and tinctures were illegal. And we had no fucking idea, right? Because the law, very plain text, none of us are attorneys.
Right.
We're fucking patients.
Right.
Like, historically, people with disabilities don't. Anyways, so the law had said something like any mixture thereof, and we had all believed this to be meaning that we could absolutely possess other forms of cannabis than just flower. Nobody in the world passed this in 2008 and thought that we were going to make 6-year-olds smoke a joint. Like, fuck you know?
Yeah.
That's bullshit.
Yeah, I know.
But that's the way it was. And so, Robin, Josh, and I all had the same story, which was, hey, our parents used cannabis. We, not only did it not affect us in a negative way, but it may have helped them be better parents, right? And at the very least, they didn't deserve to be prosecuted or to be stigmatized or to be treated differently for their cannabis use, right? And then maybe even one step further, which is they deserve to use cannabis, right? My mom deserves this.
Yeah.
And you don't have the resources to take care of her if you incarcerated her anyways. I mean, that's another conversation. But that's what they were threatening was real jail time. So we launched Sons and Daughters United in 2013 to 2014. I don't really remember which. And I think we got together. We started it in 2013, but officially launched in March of 2014 and filed our paperwork. And we've really evolved at Sons and Daughters to be so many things, right? So from an advocacy group that really served its purpose at the time, which is, hey, our parents deserve this. Everybody's talking about what about the kids? Well, here's our opinion on it, right?
Right.
But then it's evolved further. I met Ashley Duvall on the Capitol steps. She had a microphone in one hand and a clipboard in the other. And she was just, I saw her and she just radiated like bad bitch energy. I was like, I have to figure out what she's doing, right? And I go up there and she's talking about how her brother and her dad were incarcerated federally for growing cannabis under the caregiver system. And she wants them to, this is bullshit. We didn't even get to tell the court that he was a medical marijuana patient, that they were growing, that they had patients. And my dad wasn't even there. It's not even his fucking place. It was just his house, right?
That's crazy. Wow.
And it was that moment when I was like, wait a minute. It's more than just, hey, don't arrest us. It's like we need support after they do that.
Right.
Because fun fact, us highlighting the dangers of the war on drugs has been effective in a lot of ways, but very slowly. And so my dad has spent more than 2 decades in prison for various drug crimes, mostly petty drug crimes, but mostly because he really likes cocaine, right? He got out for the first time in 2020. They had to let a lot of folks out because people were literally fucking dying in these prisons. He was out for all of 3 months before he was arrested in Indiana for possession of marijuana. A first-time marijuana possession at like 47 years old.
Oh my goodness.
Right?
Yeah.
That's obscene.
Yeah, that's
this
crazy.
isn't South Bend. This is literally 10 minutes away from my house.
Right.
But this isn't just my dad, right? They didn't just do this because Mark has a rap sheet a mile long.
Right.
They did this because that's how they prosecute cannabis in most states.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
And so I feel like we're all just very relaxed and we believe that this is something that is normal and that even when I go to Drug Policy Alliance conferences and things like that, marijuana is very much like over. We're done talking about that.
Right.
Which I think is unfair to
It is
some of our
unfair.
neighboring
It
states.
is unfair, and that's the thing. It's pharmaceuticals are so widely accepted, and they've only been around for what 200 years. I mean, when you really think about it, you know what I mean.
That's a solid point.
When you really break it down, it's like, wait a second, like we are going to dismiss decades, not even decades. I mean, billions of years. I'm going to say billions.
Wow. So my sister,
it's a plan.
My sister went to Ball State, and her freshman year of college, she also loves marijuana, so she's smoking weed in her dorm room, and the campus PD came in. They confiscated all of her stuff. She lost her scholarship, and then she owed Ball State like $10,000.
For what?
Because she was stuck in the middle of her semester, and all of her scholarships were revoked because she was a criminal with marijuana.
Gosh.
So we launched in 2018. We launched the scholarship program, which gives $5,000 a semester to people with that are affected by the aid elimination policy, which says that if you have 2 or more misdemeanor drug charges, that you don't get FAFSA or student aid.
Oh, wow.
That you even pay back, right?
Okay.
So we give $5,000 a semester that you can use either to pay back to the school or to go back to school, right?
Okay.
And we're so.
How does someone contact you, or how do they get involved in your program?
You can apply online at sonsanddaughtersunited.org. We have several grants there. So we have a grant for people with disability, a Renee Wolf Memorial Grant.
Okay.
And if you remember Renee Wolf, she was arrested in Ann Arbor in Washtenaw County after the Washtenaw County prosecutor's office she was a woman in a wheelchair with MS. They sent a dude in a wheelchair with MS to her to buy a quarter of marijuana, which she sold to him for $10. And then they arrested her all of 2 hours.
Oh my goodness.
They can't take care of paralyzed folks in the jail. So they were like, wait a minute.
Oh my goodness.
We don't think we can do this. But she also famously smoked a joint in Congress. It was like to prove that it was not harmful.
Right.
So when she passed away in 2013, we started the Renee Wolf Memorial Grant, which helps people with disabilities get either travel expenses, doctors. We actually, to be honest, and I hope my the IRS isn't watching, but we just like gave out weed all the time and like I remember with my attorney who's very vanilla, and he was like, so you just give people marijuana? I was like, no, we make them apply for it. He was like, don't tell anybody that. I was like, I'm not gonna.
Well, I mean, the state's already said that we can give away for free, right?
I mean, yes. 2013 was a weird time, but we were just passing it out. And we still help people get certifications for that, so mostly minors, but if you know patients that are that need certifications, we do that as well.
Okay.
And then perhaps my favorite grant is our prison support grant, which our family connection grant, which provides people's loved ones who have incarcerated loved ones with resources, JPay payments, travel expenses, stationery to stay connected to their loved ones while they're incarcerated.
Oh, that's incredible.
So I'm super proud of the work that we do there, and it's work that wouldn't be done if it wasn't funded. So I'm super excited to work with our partners, and these are relationships of people that I've known for a decade or more, people that have seen me grow in the industry and have really invested in our work from the beginning, and I'm thankful for that. But Sons and Daughters United, we launched a expungement program with Ryan Basor this last May.
Oh
so
my
it'll
goodness.
be
okay.
It'll
so
be
you're
1 year.
really branching out.
We are.
Okay.
We're trying to. So the whole purpose is to create services for people who are adversely affected by the current laws and policies, or at least outdated laws and policies across the U.S. And so there's all these rules or laws that are created for certain groups of people, and they actually just tend to hurt them, right? They're just, for example, like drug laws or something like that, which are created for children in neighborhoods and to keep them safe, but it actually has a whole list of adverse effects. Okay. So we used to try to do policy work, but it turned out that we just want to meet people where they are and provide them services at that way. So we are a 501c3, so all donations are tax deductible, no pressure.
Nice. Okay.
But you can find us on Facebook. You can find us on sonsanddaughtersunited.org. We famously have a team of all women, which I'm super proud of. I didn't like plan for it to be that way, but it has consistently been that way.
Sometimes the best laid plans are, I don't know how that saying goes. I just lost my train of thought. That's really good weed.
Thanks. I got it like 2 months ago from some guy at the Speedway down the road. He was like, I'm serious. It's my favorite story. I was hoping that you'd say that so I could tell the story about how he was like, you smell really good. I was like, I'm always looking for more. He was like, I got some in my truck. And that's the story of how I got this stink.
I love that.
I know.
That's hilarious.
Don't limit the caregiver system. I need it.
We all need it.
And it is unusually good. Yeah.
It is good. Holy cow.
I know. Shout out. Lansing's the best. I'm here for it.
And it's usually these strains that I have no idea what the names are.
Yeah, I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
Couldn't tell you.
Holy cow. Yeah, that's good. I'm good right now. Thanks. So, Sons and Daughters. Ryan Basor, expungement.
So we launched the expungement program. We started off we started off in just one county. So I called Ryan. I wanted to do a COVID awareness campaign. He was like, I want to do expungements in Benton Harbor, and that's where I'm from. And I was like, I would love to participate in something like that. You know? That's real life-changing stuff. I can help people get medical marijuana cards and then have to do it again in 2 years. You know, I can. There's so many things that we do that help for the minute, but an expungement lasts forever. Right. And I want to be a part of that. That sounded great. And so we launched it in Berrien County, and we saw an overwhelming response. I signed up like 20 of my friends.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
You have 20 friends that have marijuana charges? I was like, yeah.
Yeah, but still, I mean, 20 people. Wow.
And the thing is that our friends, everybody has a friend that also was incarcerated, right? Yeah. And so it's a never-ending cycle. But when we get into these weird places and they prosecute in a way that is excessive, but is also predatory, right? And they create records for non-violent crimes and usually for property crimes, right? Sorry, my license was suspended. I don't have $1,500 in driver responsibility fees, my bad.
Right.
Or whatever. And so I was really excited to be a part of that.
Well, you're changing people's lives.
And
you're helping, you're helping them better themselves. Like people want to be able to do better. They want opportunities.
That is 100% true. So people want these opportunities.
Mm-hmm.
They want the ability for redemption, right?
Yes.
They want to be. People don't usually commit crimes after 27. That is a statistic that is true to the core, right? Like 70% of crimes that are committed by folks that are under the age of 27.
Well, and let's be real, non-violent crimes.
Even property crimes, right? So here, or property crimes even.
Yeah.
So we have this idea that the only thing that matters in terms of expungement is the felonies or the misdemeanors, but that's not true.
Right.
Oftentimes it'll be like a driving unsuspended or a driving with no license or a driving with no insurance that creates a barrier for these folks to get expungements.
Okay. Oh, wow. So something that minor.
Yes, absolutely.
Damn.
And so it's hard for me to believe that the police don't know that, right?
Oh, they do. Our system
and that the judges
so
don't know that.
Our system is so broken.
We have a guy who is literally 72 years old, and his only crime in his whole life was in 2013. He grew too much marijuana under the caregiver system.
Mm-hmm.
He would be totally eligible for expungement, except in 2020, in the middle of the pandemic, he got caught driving with no insurance.
Oh, give me a break.
So now he has to wait 5 years. 2025, he'll be able to expunge.
Oh,
well, 2023, he'll be able to expunge the driving with no insurance.
Wow.
So, it's ridiculous. And you have to have a completely clear record between the one you want to get expunged and today's date. And so it's been
we're taking a system that's already obviously broken. And
right.
We're wanting to create change.
It has been so phenomenal in terms of the change that's been created over the past year. Yeah. There's some really great expungement bills that are in the House right now. We have some. It's I think the idea that people with criminal records are not necessarily criminals is in the mind of most judges and in the mind of a lot of legislators.
Mm-hmm. It's getting the general public to understand that now.
Correct.
That has to trickle down because I don't think that has happened yet.
Right, and people feel like they need to be notified of these past crimes until they understand what these crimes usually are composed of. Right.
Well, and where's the the proverbial second chance? Like everyone deserves a second chance.
Or third chance, or fourth chance.
Yeah, we all make mistakes. We all have to learn from them. Some of us make a lot bigger mistakes than other people.
And sometimes people making the mistakes are the cops.
Exactly.
Right? Like, Josey, I swear to God I didn't do this. Like,
right.
I believe you. I believe it. I've seen it,
Yeah. Well, exactly. If they're just looking for an arrest warrant or, they don't care how they get it. And again, they don't care how they get it.
Yeah.
Innocent people suffer. And that it's a shame, but
it is.
It sucks. Well, I think that's awesome. I think that's really cool.
I'm so proud of the work we do there.
Yes.
And
that's amazing.
And it means something, right? So like when we launched Sons and Daughters in 2014, we did a grant for Ashley to go see her dad. Okay. And she had posted it on Facebook and it had became this thing, like word of mouth, that it spread pretty far because there's nobody that really does provide direct payments.
Right.
In the way that we do. It also wouldn't work if we didn't provide direct payments, right? There's a lot of moving parts to the program that it's just easier to pay the people directly. But I think I'm getting off subject. Oh yeah, so people had been tagging me and stuff, and I had gotten tagged in this post on Facebook, and this woman had been, her house had been raided, her husband was in jail, her accounts were frozen, her child was taken by CPS, they had shot the family dog, she had no money, right? She had nothing.
Right.
And that's what they do. They literally freeze your accounts. You have nothing. Yeah. There's not a single attorney that wants to talk to you because you don't have any money.
Right.
There's no way to talk to him.
There's no way to
Where's the priority, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's all fresh and new, and she was like, I just need to make sure that I have a car seat and X, Y, and Z to pick up my baby, right? Like, I can get this, I can go to my mom's, we can clear this all out, but I need, like a car seat, diapers, and something else, and I don't have any.
Essentials.
Right.
Just
literally
essentials.
have fucking nothing. They took my car with the car seat strapped into it.
Wow.
So I lived in Lansing at the time, and there was like 130 shops, right? So I went straight to Michigan Avenue. I went into the Cushion. I saw Greg, who owns the Stone Depot now. Shout out. And I never met this guy. He did not know who I was, and I pitched it to him, and he gave me $500 instantly.
Wow.
It was my first donation. It was my first cold call, my first donation. I mean, you couldn't get any better than that.
So,
right?
Like
I
Cloud
drove.
9.
I did. Yeah, I drove straight to Detroit. I got there, and there she was on her hands and knees, cleaning the fucking blood, Ida, from her dead dog on the front porch. Like, you could smell. It was the worst moment. I didn't know this girl. I never fucking met her.
Right.
And it was just me and her, you know?
Wow.
Me and my $500 from Greg at the fucking Cushion.
Wow.
And I gave her the money. I got on my hands and knees. We fucking scrubbed this dead dog's what the fuck?
Yeah.
And she took the money. She got the car seat. She got a baby. Her husband ended up being cleared of all fucking charges.
Wow.
Like, let's be realistic about the true implement of this, though.
And the traumatic, I mean, what they did, the terror.
Do you think that that's something that they, like,
that can just
forget?
Oh, yeah.
Thank you so much for not putting me in a cage an extra 10 months. Like, what the fuck?
Right.
So I'm so proud of the work that we do, but remember the reason that we do it.
Exactly.
Right? So it's super cool that we're able to do these things, but it's super uncool that we have to.
Right.
So
off the backs of those who truly, truly suffered. It's just, man.
Right. And at the expense of nobody but themselves, right? So the police never had to live up to this.
They don't have to be accountable for anything.
And up until 2015, 2016, they didn't have to write down what they took from your house. They didn't have to. There was no code of conduct for the way they conducted these raids.
Are you kidding me?
I'm 100% serious. No!
Wow.
And there was no, oh God.
Real life is not like it is on TV.
It is not.
I keep telling people that, but it's like, we get so caught up in the fact that we watch TV and we think it's real, and it's not.
And it's like that still in some states. Civil forfeiture is something that goes unchecked and unregulated until somebody, like in Shermy, and had a whole team, obviously, but worked so hard for so long. And there were so many different versions of the civil forfeiture bills. And we were just like, hey, not only stop taking our stuff, but also remember that there was a lot more to it, right? They were using humiliation tactics. Right. They were taking sex toys. They were lining them up nice and neat next to the money and next to the drugs. And then you spent the entire trial not saying, hey, I didn't grow fucking weed here, but saying, hey, I'm actually not a sex-crazed, drug-crazed lunatic.
Right.
Thank you.
Right.
And humiliation tactics are not legal in any area of American justice, except for when we're talking about drug users, and specifically a lot of times marijuana users, right? And so until that would have continued, even after, I think, it would have been continued to be challenged if we didn't have Dana Nessel.
So again, it's truly getting a perspective and understanding what these families actually go through, because I have no idea until you're just now explaining. I mean, I've heard, certain stories from different people.
Wait, like a real tragedy that that affects people generationally.
Exactly.
Right? So this isn't just an issue for the parents that are there at the time that are being raided.
Mm-hmm. Well, and the kids who are living through that themselves.
And maybe not even just those. Like, maybe even the children that come after that are still affected by the aftermath.
Oh, yeah.
And I would say that even their children's children are affected by it. Mm-hmm. And I would say that there is a serious line of therapy that will never be offered by the state, by the way, that it would take to maybe break through some of that trauma.
Well, I was reading something. So there's PTSD, and then it's called CPTSD.
Complex.
Yes, that makes complete sense.
Yeah.
And it's where it's continued trauma over a long period of time, and it completely changes your makeup. It everything is affected.
It changes how you respond to things,
everything.
Which is the most important part of daily activities, of relationships, of the ability to maintain a normal, stable lifestyle, right?
Right.
And so people that are incarcerated for long term experience depression for 10 years after they get out. Chronic, debilitating depression. I cannot get out of bed. I cannot eat. I have not taken a shower in a week. Depression.
Wow.
What services do we provide those people when they reach? Nothing.
There's nothing.
There is nothing.
No.
Correct. Yeah. Fun trivia with Josey and I. Nothing.
Oh.
And
it's just sickening. It's just, I'm so devastated that this is.
And it's hard for organizations like ours to consistently create solutions to the problems that the state fucking made. Right? Like, I didn't do this. I didn't incarcerate 2 million
when you
people.
have the general public who really doesn't understand either. They don't understand how they can help. They don't understand why they need to help. And that changes need to be made. So again, it's educating. It's bringing this on a grander scale so that people do have a full understanding of what happens.
Yes. And a lot of people are affected in terms of people who 25% of Michiganders have a criminal record that can be expunged today. Right? There's 2.5 million people with criminal records here in the state of Michigan. That is a big portion. That is a lot of people's cousins, grandmas, aunts, Sunday school teachers, and so it's difficult for me.
The only thing I can kind of equate this to is like a drunk driving.
Okay.
Like if you've never had you had a clean record, all of a sudden you're over the legal limit, bam, you got a DUI.
Right.
Your life is completely screwed at that point.
Forever.
And
up until February of this year, when the legislature allowed you to expunge first time.
The majority of people don't understand. I don't have one. I have a couple of friends. So it really opened my eyes as to what people actually go through. Right. I mean, that you essentially can't hold a job, but yet you have to hold a job. You have all of these bills to pay, all of these fees and fines and classes to go to and community service that you have to do. And yet they still want you to try to keep a job and work around your schedule around all of this. And and you're still labeled, a criminal.
And it's not always that controversial, right?
No, and it was a mistake. Again,
I have a client who didn't return 5 Blockbuster videotapes in 1989. This is not a joke. Sorry, Susan. She didn't return 5 Blockbuster videotapes, got a felony, non-return of rental property, under $100.
Oh, my goodness.
Blockbuster doesn't even exist anymore, okay?
Felony.
But I am doing her expungement now.
Wow.
Right? And she was like, she'd worked for the state for 30-something years. She went to go collect her 401k, and they were like, girl, you got a felony. You're a felon. You violated this code. And she was like, dude, I paid into this for 30 years.
Right.
I didn't know that I have no idea that this happened,
Wow.
And so it's real things where it's so much more than housing and employment. It's present parenting.
Mm-hmm.
It's also the ability to be treated like a real citizen.
Yes.
That is the problem. There are 45,000 barriers created by a criminal record.
Wow.
And so that's kind of how I came into the Redemption Foundation.
Okay.
And we work with current and former cannabis prisoners, both in reentry, but also we want to help them while they're there and want to help them get out.
Okay.
So I'm really excited about the work that Ryan has already done.
I know.
I feel like I'm bragging all the time, like, yeah, Ryan Basor's my boss, whatever.
I know there are some people like you that you're like, oh, I get to work with them every day.
Right. And he has so many good ideas, right? Like so many ideas that just make sense and that are really created from living through it. So if you don't know, Ryan was incarcerated in federal prison for growing cannabis here in the state of Michigan. He was chased by Black Ops helicopters. He was raided by the U.S. military. I mean, this is like real things. Right?
Yeah.
And so what a warrior from the beginning. And he created Redemption, and 10% of those proceeds go back to the Redemption Foundation. And so he has all these ideas, but needs to put them into like a program form. And so that's what I'm doing there. And he wanted to start by the expungements. And so and we had gotten, I registered it, and then we got the logo, and we named it. We were going to name it something just not as clever as the Great Lakes Expungement Network, and I came up with the idea. But I think that my true accomplishment in Glenn was the team that we built.
Okay.
I am so proud. I'm so proud of the people that we work with. There are so many people that exist that have skills that are untapped, and we were able to invest in a lot of our clients. Our membership director, Crystal, has been phenomenal throughout the process. We have gathered most of our volunteers as people who went through the program, got their record expunged, was like, hey, this is cool.
Mm-hmm.
I want to do this too.
Mm-hmm.
But we also work with the top attorneys in the state. We work with all of our friends. So like Barton and Josh and Ashley, in Cannabis Council, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
But we also work with a lot of non-industry folks that are just passionate about second chances and reform, and they're like, this is the only fun thing that we get to do, the only guaranteed fun thing we get to do in criminal defense. This is something that that changes people's lives, and not for today or for tomorrow, but forever. And this is the ability to coach a little league team. This is the ability to be a troop leader. This is the ability in some states to vote, right? So I have people that apply for our program, and they're like, dude, yeah, but I'm in, I don't know, Mississippi, where I really, literally, Josey, cannot vote. It is the law here. Cannot vote because I'm a felony in Michigan. And that is devastating, right? Yeah. That is a threat, maybe even to our democracy as a whole, as Americans. And so expungement is important, but remember that there are less than a dozen states that have accessible expungement that works for majority of people. And up until April of last year, we were not one of them.
Oh, goodness.
Right. 95% of Michiganders did not proceed with expungement within 5 years of being eligible.
Oh, wow.
So that's people that were eligible. Just didn't go through it.
They didn't know. Well, did they know?
Oh, yeah, but it was super difficult to do, right? So an expungement is about a $2,000 process. Standard market price. And it's not guaranteed. And there's a lot of, you have to read to orphans, and that's not written in law. But you have to prove that you're extraordinary and worthy of a second chance. But here's the thing, I did the crime, I paid my fucking time, bro. I didn't commit any other crimes. I don't have to be extraordinary. I don't have to dedicate my time to being a preacher. I'm dedicating my time to invest in the community in maybe non-tangible ways, right? Maybe my time I'm dedicating is teaching my daughter how to, I don't know, read. I don't know what these people are doing, but it doesn't have to be something extraordinary and in lights to deserve redemption, to deserve safe housing, to deserve...
To just be treated normal.
Yes. Yeah. And I think that the political shift has changed. I think that we share the marijuana community as a whole shares a lot of success, a lot of our success stories with drug policy reform as a whole, but really with criminal justice reform, with the ability to turn around how people perceive people that have been incarcerated, people that violate the law. And so we would be nowhere in terms of where we are with policy here in Michigan if we didn't start this stuff back in 1976 with Sinclair. And I think that would be our first on the books, clear and concise movement that says, hey, Michigan is a forefront of this, right? We were the first places to get a cannabis bar association. I mean, I'm pretty sure that people in Nebraska are like, yo, I should live in Michigan, I think. They're fucking
Come
crazy.
on over.
Yeah. Michigan's the greatest state. What are you passionate about? Just Michigan. It's great. Come here, I tell you. We grow more apples than anybody else. We have better weed than anybody else.
We do have some pretty good.
But we also celebrate cannabis in a way that is different than other states, right? We can always talk about Hash Bash. We can always talk about the John Sinclair Freedom Rally, but we can also go even further, and we can discuss the way that these events draw people in from everywhere, right? And the way that we include. We started doing these ballot initiatives for cities. We were the first place to do that in Michigan. I mean, there's so many firsts. And so to for people to be surprised when they come here that it's
That is incredible. We're trailblazers.
right.
Yeah.
We really truly are.
Yeah.
And in every sense of the way. And so I remember when I was like 18 or something. I still had a minor card.
Mm-hmm.
And I went through Monroe, Michigan, and there was this like dispensary antique store. Because that's how dispensaries work back then.
Right.
And I had to buy a fucking lamp to get an ounce of weed. So I just want to know every time I get on a podcast, I want to know like if there's somebody watching it and it was your dispensary, it was like the best weed I'd ever smoked in my life.
Wow.
I'm into it.
Wow.
Shout out to Monroe. And it slams over there. You know, I don't know if you've been to any of the dispensaries out there.
Yeah.
But damn, Ohio is
I
into it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the same thing for a lot of our border towns.
Right.
And so something that I love about Ryan and the Redemption Foundation is that he's already thinking about like, hey, these are the guys that are coming out and they're buying products from Michigan. They're going home.
Right.
You know, they're putting themselves in danger. These are pioneers.
Yeah.
How do we invest in them?
I love that.
And so I'm so proud. Those are things that like I haven't been thinking of, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think any cannabis brands are truly thinking about in the way of how do we give back or how can we help them if they get into a situation.
Well, it really does take somebody, who has that background and understands that perspective to understand what people are doing. Yeah. You know what I mean? Because again, you don't know what you don't know until you know it. It doesn't matter what it is. But we are at an hour's time already.
Oh, we are tired. Talk all day.
I know. I had so much fun.
I had a blast. Thank you for having me on.
Yes. Gosh, I want to keep talking. And thanks, Josh, for letting us use your office, by the way.
Yes, thank you.
We appreciate it.
So please go to GreatLakesExpungementNetwork.org or sonsanddaughtersunited.org if you're looking for an expungement. You can also donate on either page or on our Facebook pages if that's something you're interested in doing. Thank you guys for having me on. I appreciate this.
Yay,
this has been awesome.
Yay, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Well, I'm going to walk over here and turn off the broadcast. Join me next week on Let It Joint with Ida. I have another female guest coming on. Peace.